If you have thousands of points sitting in a frequent flyer account, I wouldn't keep them in there much longer. That's because inflation hits points prices just as much as regular consumer prices. We call this devaluation. And in today's video, we're going to go over some recent devaluations that we've been seeing with different airline programs. For some of these, it's too late for you to do anything. But for others, you'll want to move fast so that you can still get as much as possible out of your points. Okay, let's jump right in. The first devaluation we're going to talk about is with Southwest Airlines, where in the beginning of 2024, they devalued their points by about 4%. So what does that mean for you? If you go to Southwest Airlines now, let's search for a route, let's say Austin, Texas to Denver, Colorado, one way in dollars, and then we'll just pick a random date this summer. Let's go ahead and click search. Now, keep your eye on this top right-hand corner one, where it's the nonstop flight. It's $155 for the wanna get away fare. In points, that same flight is going to cost 11,191 points instead of $155. That means the redemption rate would be 155 divided by 11191. And that comes out to a rate of about 1.38 cents per point. And you're going to find that same ratio across all of the different flights, routes, fare types, schedules. It's going to be right around that 1.3 something valuation. Back in 2023, that same flight would cost roughly 10,760 points. And I know this because 10,760 divided by 11,191 is about 96%. So it's a 4% difference between the price last year versus this year. So what Southwest did to all of their charts was to say, okay, instead of having a flat rate of about 1.4 cents per point where you're redeeming Southwest points for flights, instead it's going to be like 1.3 something. So across the board, they just increased the prices of all of the different flights in relation to what the cash price is. And that's why you don't really want to hoard points even with a revenue-based airline like Southwest, because if they make one change like this, it's going to impact all of the different flights. Nothing is safe. Every single flight was impacted because it's just a direct multiplicative formula that they use to determine their points price. So let's go through some other examples of other airlines where they've also done devaluations, but it was a little bit more complicated of a formula. If you're now panicking about devaluation, but not sure what to do with any of the points that you have already sitting in frequent flyer accounts, don't worry, we made you a free resource to help. In just a few weeks, I am hosting a completely free live webinar training to walk you through how to use some different tools and techniques to find award travel sweet spots faster. That way, you can make the most out of your points without having to wait months to get a good redemption. However, if you're thinking, that Southwest example wasn't too bad, it's just a 4% increase, how bad could devaluations really be? Well, in this next example, prices basically doubled overnight. Another airline that got a little bit wrecked recently with devaluations is Turkish Airlines. It used to be such a good sweet spot. You were able to get flights from anywhere in the US to Alaska or Hawaii for 7,500 points, but that is no longer the case. Turkish Airlines recently added in this new award chart where now it's going to be additive, so it's probably going to take a lot more points in order to do what you're looking to do with Turkish Airlines. Here's a couple of examples. So let's say that you are looking to fly from Chicago over to Istanbul, and we're just going to search far out into the future so we can find some award space. Let's pick January 17, and we want to go in business class. Let's go ahead and click search flights. Here on Turkish, you can see that the price is going to be 65,000 points per person each way in business class from Chicago into Istanbul. Last year when I made a video on all the different tutorials for how to use Turkish Miles and Smiles, here you can see from Chicago over to Istanbul was only 45,000 miles in business class. So it's about a 20,000 point jump for this particular route. In the past, you would have been able to also tack on positioning flights to other places in Europe. So for example, you would be able to go from Chicago through Istanbul into Athens. Like in the video that I did last year, you could go from Chicago through Istanbul into Athens and it was still only 45,000 miles. That is no longer the case with the Turkish Airlines additive award chart, because now it always has to price through Turkey. So from North America to Turkey, it's going to be that 65,000 point price that we just saw from Chicago to Istanbul. But then from Istanbul into Athens, it's going to be either 20,000 or 25,000 points. I'm guessing it's 20,000 because it's pretty close for Europe 1 versus Europe 2. So let's test that out. On the flight search on Turkish's website, we're going to click on award ticket one way from Chicago into Athens, and we're going to try that same date where we found the first availability on January 17 for one passenger in business class. And here you see that it is now 85,000 miles instead of the 45,000 miles that it was last year. And that's because we have to add the new 65,000 point price plus 20,000 points to route to somewhere else in Europe. So that's quite the price increase for that one. Let's look at another sweet spot that unfortunately has gotten really devalued with Turkish Airlines, and that was flying into the Far East, because previously you would be able to fly all the way from Chicago through Istanbul into Manila, Philippines, for only about 67.5 thousand miles. All of it was in business class. It was a fantastic deal. But now it's not going to be quite so good of a deal. Now we're going to have to add 65,000 from North America into Turkey, and then another 65,000 from Turkey into the Far East, which is the region that the Philippines would fly into. So instead of 67.5 thousand points, the price nearly doubles. If we go into the Turkish Airlines website and we search from Chicago over to Manila for that same date in January of next year, for one passenger in business class, and click on search flights, we now see the price is going to be 130,000 points, and that's going to be the best price that you can find. Previously, if I saw a price like this, I'd be like, oh, there's no saver space on that particular date. Let's just click around to the different dates. But unfortunately, that is going to be your best price, because you just have to take 65,000 plus another 65,000 with this new additive award chart. And that is how you calculate the price that it's going to take to fly on Turkish now. The process for searching for award space on Turkish is exactly the same. If you want to check out our tutorial from last year for how I'm finding all of these different flight deals, we will link to that video here. But unfortunately, Turkish has been another one of those airlines where if you were hoarding a lot of points into Turkish Airlines, I am very sorry to say that those points are now worth a lot less than they were last year. So that's why you want to earn and burn your points. Definitely don't keep a lot of points in a specific airline, because devaluations like this can hit pretty much at the whim of the airline. Are you enjoying these types of tutorials? If yes, please let me know. Click that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for even more points and miles tips every week. Okay, I don't want this entire video to be all doom and gloom. Sometimes different programs will give you a heads up on when points prices are changing, and then you can strategically move based off of that information. And speaking of moving strategically, if you're in the market to get a new card but not sure what card to get, we offer free credit card consultations at geobreezetravel.com/consultations. We'll send you personalized recommendations based on your particular goals, budget, and lifestyle. Or if you already know what card you want next and you would like to support this show when you apply for your next card, we have all of our affiliate links listed on geobreezetravel.com/cards, which you can also find in the description box. Up next, let's talk about how to navigate the upcoming award pricing changes that are coming to Hyatt. Sometimes not all award chart changes are bad. They can actually be in your favor. Every year around March, Hyatt releases their new award chart where they say, here are the different hotels that are going up a category, here are the different ones that are going down a category, so you know which ones you want to book in advance versus which ones you can hold off on. You have a little bit of time for this one. The changes that I'm about to go over will take place on March 26th, so if you want to book any of these hotels before then, you can lock in the old points price. After that, it's going to be the new points price. So you can find this page just by Googling Hyatt award category chart updates, and they are sorted by region. So in the United States, they will list, here are all of the different hotels and the states that they're in, and what category they are right now and how many points it usually costs right now, and then how many points it's going to cost after March 26, 2024. So what you'll want to do is look through this list, and then for anything where it's going up a category, like this Hyatt, Regency, Scottsdale, Resort and Spa at Gainey Ranch, I've stayed at this one in Arizona, that's going up in category. So if you're wanting to stay at this hotel anytime in the future, even if after March 26th, you can go ahead and lock in the price of about 20,000 points before March 26th. But if you have to make any changes to your travel plans or anything like that, the new points price is going to be 25,000 points. There are other hotels where the category actually goes down because maybe it's not an attractive enough hotel, they're not bringing in enough customers based off of the current points price. It's a little bit of a, we'll say, sour spot instead of a sweet spot with points and miles, so they'll reprice different hotels to be cheaper as well. For example, with the Tommy Hollywood, it's currently a Category 4, but then it's going to become a Category 3 after March 26th. So if you have any plans to stay at the Tommy Hollywood, I would not book that yet. I would wait until after March 26th. Then you're probably only going to have to pay 12,000 points a night instead of 15,000 points per night. The ones that I would pay most attention to would be anything that's going from Category 4 to Category 5, because those are the ones where you will no longer be able to use your Category 1 through 4 free night certificate that comes with the World of Hyatt card after March 26. So for example, the Manchester Grand Hyatt San Diego, I used a couple of free night certificates there last year. It was a fantastic property. Highly recommend locking in those nights with your Category 1 through 4 certificates right now before March 26. Because even though it's only going up by 5,000 points per night, there's just no way to use the category certificate after that. So if you want to find all the different dates that you can book the Manchester Grand Hyatt San Diego, what I would do is go to Aways and then type in the hotel you're looking for, Manchester Grand Hyatt San Diego, the dates that you want, and then it'll tell you should you use points or cash for that night. Also, when you click on the hotel name and then the green arrow and then click on award availability, it will show you all of the different dates where you can use points versus free night certificate versus where they're already sold out and you won't be able to use these. So this is an easy way to kind of see all the different dates where you would be able to get an award night redemption at that particular hotel. And they have this chart available for lots of different regions as well. If you wanted to stay in Africa or the Middle East, it's a much shorter list than the one in the United States. But if you wanted to stay at like the Park Hyatt Zanzibar, that one's going up in price. Nothing here is jumping up from a Category 4 to a Category 5. With Asia Pacific, a lot of these are actually going down in price. Hyatt Centric Melbourne is going down. Park Hyatt Ningbo in China, a lot of the China ones are moving categories. The Alila Wuzhen is actually going from 5 to 4, so in the future you could use a free night certificate there. These two resorts in India, the Hyatt Regency and the Alila, are going up from Category 4 to Category 5, so if you have any plans to stay there, go ahead and lock it in with your free night certificate. Same with the Andaz in Bali. So these are just some good hotels to look into and see what's changing with them. The all-inclusive resorts are a little bit different for Caribbean and Latin America because instead of Category 1, 2, 3, they're based on letters, but it does still tell you how many points it currently costs and how many points it's going to cost in the future. And here are some changes for Europe as well, where if you wanted to stay at the Hyatt Regency Düsseldorf or the Wellham Düsseldorf, highly recommend getting that locked in. Same with Hyatt Centric Milan or the Tribune, where you will no longer be able to use your free night certificates in the future, but you will now be able to use it at the First Name Bordeaux in France. So check out these different changes to the Hyatt chart that are coming into effect on March 26th and lock in any hotels where you have some desire to stay there in the future and it's going up in points price. Our last walkthrough covers an airline that recently announced a devaluation, and their website can make it a bit trickier to find award space. However, if you can get some of these sweet spots booked before devaluation time, you are going to save a ton of points. Speaking of, if you're interested in leveling up your points and miles game and getting more free trips and upgrades, we have a couple of options for you. The first one is the GeoBreeze Travel Patreon, which you can join starting at $5 a month through patreon.com/geobreezetravel. Every month, we prepare personalized step-by-step tutorials for the routes that our members request. We also provide open forum group coaching where you can ask any questions that you have about points, miles, credit cards, or anything else in general. And we talk through some of the tips and tricks that I'm not really supposed to mention on social media. And if you're looking to get even more free travel with points, and you're a business owner or individual who spends more than $100,000 per year on expenses, check out our one-on-one points portfolio management service. We typically save our clients more than $30,000 to $60,000 in travel in the first 6 to 12 months of working with our team. If that sounds like something that you would be interested in, book a free intro chat with us at geobreezetravel.com/intro call to learn more. Okay, let's talk about how to book ANA, which has some of the sweetest of sweet spots in the entire points and miles world for now. Another airline that has an upcoming devaluation is going to be ANA, which supposedly has one of the best first-class flight experiences in the world. I have not been able to book this yet, but if you want to grab some of this elusive award space before the prices go up on April 18, here's how I would recommend finding it because it is tough. So I would go to seats.aero, and they have this handy-dandy tab on tools where you can actually just go to the ANA first class finder. From here, I would sort by who actually has first class, and then I would kind of browse through what airports are showing up here a lot for the origin and the destination. It looks like most of these are going to be San Francisco and a little bit of Chicago, very rarely JFK. So let's look into San Francisco. The trick with ANA is you have to be able to find round trip, or else it makes it very much not worth it. They can't do that book one way at a time that we usually do on this channel to find better award space. So you have to find something where you see the flight going out and the flight coming back at the same time. It looks like there's some stuff in October, but all of these are just for return. There's some stuff in May. And here we do see San Francisco to Haneda on May 21st and Haneda back to San Francisco on May 28th. So let's try that. What we're gonna do is go to ANA, log in, and then we're going to say we want an award reservation for a round trip from San Francisco to Haneda from the 21st through the 28th. Checkbox compare seat availability plus or minus 3 days for first class, one person. And we'll go ahead and click search. It'll say these are the dates when there are seats available. We'll go ahead and click next. And here we see for the entire round trip ticket, it would be 150,000 miles plus $620 in taxes and fees for one passenger. Is that a good deal? Yes, very much yes, because it is about a $21,000 round trip for this first class ticket on those particular dates. And if you are taking $20,869 divided by 150,000 points, that is about 14 cents per point, which is fantastic. So I would go ahead and, if you want to jump on this one, if this one still happens to be around when you see this video, jump on this one, jump on any that you see round trip on the seats.aero page, because after April 18, the price is going to go up a little bit with that one. So instead of 150,000 points, it could range from 150,000 to 170,000. It's not as devastating as like the ones that we saw with Turkish or anything like that, because if it's 170,000 points, then your cents per point goes down to about 12 cents per point instead of 14. Not the end of the world, but if you can snag it while it's still at the lower price, definitely do that. Here's another sweet spot that is going to get devalued with ANA. So with partner business airlines, you can currently fly between the US and Europe for 88,000 miles, and that is round trip. My husband and I actually used this trick to fly from Newark, New Jersey over to Greece and back. I think we flew Air Canada business class on the way there. We flew Turkish Airlines on the way back, and the entire thing was booked on ANA for 88,000 points round trip per person. ANA does not have a super handy award calendar, so here's what I would do instead. On seats.aero, I would search under United, and then I would filter down to business class and see what's largely available between North America and Europe. And I have found that this works a bit better when it is a direct flight rather than something that has a lot of connections. But we're seeing a lot of to London, to Zurich, to Brussels, to Geneva. So let's say that we want to go to Brussels. And we are based in Washington, D.C. for this example. You can either search in pretty close in or really far out to find the best availability. Let's see if we can find something last minute. And I know that by the time you view this video, these dates are going to be in the past, but this is just for example. So on ANA, we would search from IAD over to Brussels, from March 5th over to March 12th, because here we are seeing quite a bit around here. We have March 5, we have April 4, end of February, mid-March, but I'm just going to pick March 5th into March 12th, compare seat availability plus or minus 3 days, business class for 1 passenger. Then go ahead and click search, and then it has some different seats available, so we'll click next. And it would be 88,000 miles plus $66 in taxes and fees for both people. That's about half the price of what United is charging, where it would be 80,000 points per person each way to fly this business class route. And this is operated by United. They have some that are operated by Lufthansa, but this one's a direct one. So after April 18, this price is going to go from 88,000 to 100,000 miles. It's still not too bad because it's a round-trip flight, but then it becomes a little bit more comparable with what we're seeing on places like Air France, where you can often get sweet spots over to Europe for about 50,000 points. And I think the Air France website is so much easier to use than the ANA website. Keep in mind also that with ANA, the only points that will transfer over are Amex points. Ignore the Marriott one because that's going to take 7 days, and we're not doing that. With Amex points, it still takes 2 to 3 days to transfer over. So what you need to do is move your Amex points over and then pray for 3 days that the award availability you found doesn't disappear, and then make your redemption with ANA, which is a little bit too nerve-wracking for people. And once they do the devaluation, taking into account the anxiety of points being in limbo, as well as disappearing award space, as well as their website is not the easiest to use, I think a lot more people will just start using something like Air France or Air Canada instead of this ANA trick to get some really good round trip award space over to Europe. If you want the full walkthrough of how to navigate the ANA website, the moving the points over from Amex, and then also how to do an around the world trip with ANA, which to my knowledge is not getting devalued. You can still take up to 8 business class flights around the world for only 125,000 points total, which is one of the best sweet spots in all of the world to points and miles. To my knowledge, that is not being devalued. So if you want a full tutorial for how to do that, search on YouTube for GeoBreeze Travel American Express, and then click on this video, make the most out of your points. And I will also link to that video right here because that does a full walkthrough of how to use Amex points for ANA and some other great airlines as well. I hope you found those tutorials useful. Suggestions for future topics are always welcome. In the meantime, if you enjoyed these tutorials, I think you'll enjoy this video next.